Had worked at station for 3 years. He moved cargo from ships to storage rooms. He moved cargo from storage rooms back to ships. The work was simple and boring, but it paid enough money to live. He shared a small room with another worker named Greg. Greg always smelled like cheap whiskey and old sweat. The station was big. It had 10 levels. Ships came and went every day. Most ships brought food, tools, fuel, and other things that humans needed to survive on this small outpost in space. The outpost sat between 2 trade routes. It was not the most important station in the galaxy. It was not the most famous, but it was busy enough to keep working 6 days a week. On a Tuesday morning was moving boxes of power cells in the lower docks. The lower docks were cold and dark. Lights hung from the ceiling, but many of them were broken. Nobody fixed the broken lights because the station manager did not care about the lower docks. The lower docks were for workers like. Workers did not need good light. Heard a sound. It was small and quick, like something moving between the big metal boxes. He stopped and listened. The sound came again. It was a scratching noise. Maybe a rat thought, or maybe an animal that got onto the station by accident. He moved toward the sound. Between 2 tall containers, he saw something that made him stop cold. A child was sitting in the dirt, but this child was not human. The girl was small, maybe 6 or 7 years old. Her skin was thin and pale, almost transparent. Could see the lines of her bones under her skin. Her eyes were large and dark, almost black. She wore nothing but torn strips of cloth around her body. She was so thin that could count her ribs even from where he stood. Her arms were shaking. Her whole body was shaking, not from cold thought, from hunger. Had heard stories about everyone on the station had heard stories. There were an alien species that lived on the other side of the galaxy. They were dangerous, the stories said. They were different. Most humans on the station avoided them. The few traders who came to station were treated badly. Workers would not help them. Merchants would cheat them. Security would watch them constantly, like they might steal something or hurt someone. But this girl was just a child. She was so small and so hungry that she could barely hold herself up. Slowly moved closer. The girl did not run away. She did not move at all. She just watched him with her dark eyes. He could see fear in those eyes, but he could also see something else. He could see hope. "Hello," said. His voice was quiet. He did not want to scare her. "What is your name?" The girl did not answer. Maybe she did not understand human language. Maybe she was too scared to speak. Thought about what to do. He looked at her thin arms. He looked at her thin legs. He looked at her face, which had no fat left on it. This child was dying. That was not hard to see. Did something that would change his life. He did something that would change more than just his life. He stood up and walked back toward the kitchen. His would think he was crazy. The security guards might stop him, but did not care. He had seen a dying child and he could not just walk away. The kitchen was 1 level up. Used his pass card to get through the locked door. Inside, the kitchen was warm and smelled like food and metal. A man named Steve was working there, heating soup for the lunch meal. Had never really talked to Steve. They just said hello when they saw each other. Steve said, "I need a bowl of soup, please." Steve looked up from his cooking. "Lunch is not for 3 hours, man. Come back then." "I know," said, "but I need soup now, please. It is important." Steve looked at his face. Something in his face told Steve that this was not a normal request. Steve moved to a big metal pot and poured hot soup into a clean bowl. The soup was brown and thick. It had pieces of meat and vegetables in it. It was good soup. It was the best soup in the station. "What is this for?" Steve asked. "I will tell you later," said. He took the bowl. The bowl was hot and it warmed his hands. Carried the soup down to the lower docks. He moved slowly so the soup would not spill. His heart was beating fast. He did not know what would happen. He did not know if the girl would be gone. He did not know if she would drink the soup or run away. He reached the spot between the containers. The girl was still there. She had not moved. She was still shaking. Sat down on the ground near her. He did not move any closer. He just sat there and held the bowl of soup. "You can have this," said. "It is food, it is warm, you need to eat." The girl's eyes looked at the bowl, could see her wanting it. Her small body wanted the food so badly that her whole form was shaking harder now. Put the bowl on the ground between them. He moved back a little. He did not want the girl to be scared. The girl did not wait. She crawled forward on her hands and knees. Her movements were weak and slow, but she reached the bowl. She put her face into it and started to drink. She drank the soup fast. Some of it ran down her chin. Some of it spilled on her thin chest. But she kept drinking because she was so hungry that nothing else mattered. She finished the soup in maybe 2 minutes. Her bowl was clean. She looked at with those dark eyes. For the first time heard her speak. Her voice was very small. "More?" she asked. Felt something break inside his chest. This one word told him everything. She was alone. She had been hungry for a long time. She did not have anyone to take care of her. "Tomorrow," said. "Come back tomorrow, I will bring you more soup." The girl did not speak again. She just looked at for a long moment. Then she stood up on her shaking legs and disappeared between the containers. Sat there alone, holding the empty bowl. He knew that his would say he was stupid. He knew that the security people would say he had broken the rules. He knew that the station manager would say he was wasting food. But also knew something else. He knew that he had just done the most important thing he had ever done in his life. He did not know how big this moment would become. He did not know that this small act would change the whole galaxy, but he felt it in his bones. He felt that something important had started. Went back to work. He moved boxes of power cells. He did his job like normal, but he was not the same person who had started his day that morning. Something inside him had changed. Something had woken up. That night asked Steve for extra soup. Steve did not ask questions. Steve just gave him a big container of soup and told him to come back anytime. Put the soup in his small room. He sat on his bed and thought about the girl. He wondered if she would come back. He wondered where she came from. He wondered how long she had been alone. He fell asleep with these questions in his mind, and he dreamed of dark eyes and thin bones, and the word more waited. 3 days passed. He brought soup to the lower docks every day. Every day he sat between the same 2 containers and waited. Every day the girl did not come. On the first day, Greg asked where he was going, lied and said he was taking a break. Greg did not believe him, but Greg did not care enough to follow. Greg was not the kind of person who got involved in other people's business. On the second day, a named saw carrying a container of soup, laughed at him. "You feeling sick, buddy?" asked, did not answer. He just walked away. On the third day, sat between the containers for an hour. The soup got cold. He drank some of it himself. He told himself that the girl was not coming back. He told himself that she had probably found other food. He told himself that maybe she was not real and he had dreamed the whole thing. But he did not believe it. That evening was working in the main docking bay. Ships were loading and unloading cargo. Workers were running around with boxes and containers. Machines were making loud beeping sounds. The docking bay was loud and full of movement and dust. Was stacking boxes when he saw something that made him forget what he was doing. A woman stood in the middle of the docking bay. She was tall and thin like the girl, but she was an adult. Her skin was the same pale color as the girl's skin. Her eyes were silver. They looked like they could see everything. They looked like they could see into your mind and know all your secrets. This woman was. She was dressed in a long gray coat that was clean and perfect. She moved through the docking bay like water moving through air. Workers moved out of her way without thinking about it. She had that kind of power. Just being near her made people step back. She was looking for someone, could see it on her face. She was looking for something specific. Then her silver eyes found. She walked toward him. Her movement was smooth and quiet. She did not make any noise when she walked. It was not normal for a person to walk so quietly. "You are," she said. It was not a question. His hands went cold. "Yes," he said. "Who are you?" "My name is Lyrie," the woman said. She spoke with an accent, but her words were clear. "I am looking for you because you helped my daughter." His mind moved fast. Her daughter, the girl. This was the girl's mother. This was the woman whose child was dying. "I gave her soup," said. "She was hungry." Lyrie was quiet for a moment. She studied like she was trying to understand what he was made of, like she was looking at his bones and blood and trying to read his true heart. "Why?" she asked. "Why would a human help a child? The humans on this station hate us. They watch us. They cheat us. They wish we would leave." Did not have a good answer. He thought about it for a moment. "Because she was hungry," he said again. "Because she was a child. Because it was the right thing to do." Lyrie made a sound that might have been a laugh. It was very quiet. "You have not been taught what we are," she said. "Your people tell stories about the bad stories, stories that say we are dangerous and strange. Are you not afraid of me?" Looked at this woman's face. He looked at her silver eyes. He looked at her thin hands. He was afraid, but he did not answer with fear. He answered with the truth. "Should I be?" he asked. Lyrie's expression did not change, but something moved in her eyes, something that looked like respect. "My daughter's name is," she said. "She has been lost for 5 weeks. She was taken from our ship during a slave raid. I have been searching for her since that day. I found her yesterday. She was sleeping in a storage room near the lower docks. She was holding a memory of a kind human and a warm bowl of soup." "Where is she now?" asked. "Here," Lyrie said. Looked behind Lyrie. A small figure was standing near the doorway of the docking bay. It was, but was different from the starving child had seen 3 days ago. She was dressed in clean clothes. Her hair was combed. Her skin was still pale, but it was not the gray color of death anymore. She looked like a child instead of a skeleton. But her eyes were still dark and full of memory. She had not forgotten. Walked toward, she moved slowly like she was still learning how to use her body. When she reached, she gave him something. It was a small package wrapped in cloth. Inside was dried fruit and nuts. "Wanted to give you something," Lyrie said. "Among the we do not forget kindness, and we do not forget cruelty. Your kindness to my daughter is not small. It is not forgotten." Held the package. His hands were shaking a little. "I want to tell you something," Lyrie continued. "They have been hunted for many years. Slavers take our children. They take our people. They sell us to people who use us for work and for other dark purposes. Was one of these children. She spent 5 weeks in a cage waiting for a ship that would take her far away from everything she knew." Lyrie paused. She looked down at her daughter, took her mother's hand. "Then she escaped," Lyrie said. "She was lost on this station for many days. She had no food. She had no shelter. She was going to die. And then you gave her soup. You gave her a reason to believe that some humans are good. You gave my daughter back to me." "I am glad I could help, Sid." "That is not the important part," Lyrie said. Her voice was very quiet now. It was the kind of voice that made listen very hard. "The important part is that among the we remember. We mark these things in our history and in our hearts. You have marked yourself as a human who deserves the respect of our people. That is a dangerous thing. That is a powerful thing." She placed her hand on shoulder. Her hand was cold, but it was not cold like death. It was cold like metal that had been left in space. "You should know this," Lyrie said. "I was a warrior once. I was trained to fight. I was trained to protect my people. When was taken, I became something different. I became a hunter. I became something darker than what I was before." She looked at her daughter, then she looked back at. "If anyone ever tries to hurt my daughter again," Lyrie said, "I will find them, and I will kill them." She said this like she was talking about the weather, like she was telling something simple and obvious. "But you," Lyrie continued, "you are not someone to kill. You are someone to remember. You are someone to protect." Lyrie and left the docking bay together. They walked out into the station hallway and watched them go. He was holding the package of dried fruit and nuts. His hands were still shaking. He understood something in that moment. He understood that he had made a friend. But more than that, he understood that he had made someone very powerful become very grateful. And he understood that gratitude from a warrior was not a small thing. Put the package in his pocket. He went back to work, but he was different now. He was no longer just a cargo handler on a small space station. He was the human who had fed a hungry child. And that name was going to change everything. 2 weeks after met Lyrie, a new ship arrived at station. The ship was called the Raider's Pride. It was a mean-looking vessel with black paint and no markings that identified who owned it. The ship came into the docking bay and locked its locks tight. Saw the ship from his workstation. He felt something cold move down his spine. He did not know why. It was just a ship. Ships came to the station all the time. But something about this ship was different. The docking manager, a man named Cooper, was worried. Could see it on his face. Cooper kept talking into his communication device. He kept looking at the ship with a nervous expression. That night workers started to talk. A ship had arrived. It was a hunter's ship. The crew was here to find. They had money. They wanted to buy information about traders who came to the station. Felt his stomach twist. Lyrie she was on the station. The next morning the hunters began their work. There were 5 of them. The captain was a man named Victor Brooks. He was tall and thick with muscle. His face had scars on it. His eyes were cold like a stone is cold. He wore a black uniform and heavy boots. When he walked, people got out of his way. Brooks went to see the station manager, a woman named Grant. They met in her office for 2 hours. When they came out, they were smiling. Did not like that smile. That smile meant that the station manager and the hunter captain had made a deal. Brooks and his crew started moving through the station. They went to the markets where traders sometimes came. They went to the docking bays where alien ships came and went. They asked questions. They showed pictures of faces and asked if anyone had seen them. No one knew anything, or no one wanted to say anything. But Brooks kept looking. He had something in his hand. It was a small device. Saw it one day when Brooks walked past him. The device had a screen that showed a map. There was a red dot on the map. The dot was somewhere on station. It was a tracker. Lyrie had a tracker on her body or her clothes. His mind moved very fast. He needed to warn Lyrie. He needed to tell her that a hunter had come to the station and that he was looking for her. He needed to tell her that the station manager had probably given Brooks information about her. But how could he find her? She had not told him where she was staying. Went to the lower docks during his break. He went to the spot where he had first seen. He left a message written on a piece of paper. The message was simple. Hunter on station. Red tracker. You are in danger. Go now. He left the message under a box. He did not know if Lyrie would find it, but it was all he could do. That night, something happened that made the station go crazy. 7 workers were found dead. They were all members of Brooks' crew. The first body was found in the maintenance tunnel on level 3. The man's name was Oscar Price. His neck was broken, not like a car accident, broken like something had twisted it. The station's medical officer, a man named Frank, said he had never seen a neck broken in that way before. The second body was found 2 hours later. It was Brooks' second officer, a man named Leo Kale. He was in his sleeping quarters. His door was locked from the inside, but he was dead. His neck was also broken. The silence of his death was very strange. No one had heard anything. No alarms had sounded. He had just died. By the morning, 5 more bodies had been found. All of them were members of Brooks' crew. All of them had broken necks. All of them had been killed in complete silence. The station went into panic. The security people did not know what to do. Brooks screamed and demanded protection. He demanded to see the security footage. The footage showed nothing. The cameras in the hallways had all stopped working at the same time. The cameras in the sleeping quarters had also stopped working. It was like someone had planned all of this. Brooks locked himself in a room with armed guards. He would not come out. He made demands to speak with the station manager. He wanted to know who had killed his men. No one had any answers. Stood in the docking bay and watched the chaos. He understood what had happened. Lyrie had found the message. Lyrie had understood that Brooks was a threat. Lyrie had decided to eliminate that threat. But Lyrie had done it differently than expected. She had not killed Brooks. She had killed his crew. She had killed them without making any sound. She had killed them without being seen. She had killed them in a way that made it clear that she could kill anyone, anytime, anywhere on the station. It was a message. It was a very clear message. That evening, Brooks' remaining crew members started to leave the station. They requested emergency transfers. They claimed they were sick. They claimed they had family emergencies. One man said his home planet was having a disaster and he needed to go back immediately. By the next day, Brooks was alone. All his crew members were gone. Brooks' ship was still locked in the docking bay. He could not fly it alone. He was trapped. He was trapped on the station with a person who could kill anyone in complete silence. He was trapped with a person who had already killed 7 of his people. Saw Brooks walking through the station with his guards. Brooks looked like a man who was waking up from a bad dream and understanding that the dream was real. He looked like a man who was beginning to understand that he had made a terrible mistake. And he looked like a man who was waiting to die. But he did not die. Days passed. A week passed. Brooks stayed in his locked room. He stayed with his guards. He waited. And nothing happened. The station manager called for an official investigation, but there was no evidence. There were no witnesses. The security footage was all corrupted. It looked like a terrible accident. Maybe the workers had gotten sick. Maybe there was a disease on the station. Maybe it was just bad luck. The investigation went nowhere. Walked through the station and listened to people talk. Everyone knew what had really happened. Everyone knew that a warrior had killed Brooks' crew. Everyone knew that she had done it to protect her daughter. Everyone knew that she was still on the station, and they knew that she could kill anyone whenever she wanted. And slowly, something changed on station. The traders who had been treated badly started to get respect. The merchants who had cheated started to give them fair prices. The workers who had avoided the alien traders started to treat them with care. It was not because the people on the station suddenly became good. It was because they were afraid. They were afraid of the mother with silver eyes who could break necks in silence. He thought about the starving child eating soup with tears running down her face. He thought about how one small act of kindness had created something much bigger than he had expected. He had fed a child. That child's mother had made the galaxy understand that they were not something to hunt. They were something to respect. And the cargo handler had started it all with a single bowl of soup. Victor Brooks did not understand what was happening to him. He was a man who understood violence. He understood hunting. He understood how to use fear to control people. But this was something different. This was a kind of power that he had never faced before. His crew kept leaving. Every day, another man would request a transfer. Every day, another man would find a reason to leave the station. It was like they had all seen something that made them know they would die if they stayed. Brooks demanded answers. He screamed at his remaining men. He threatened them with punishment. But the men just looked at him with blank faces. They all knew the same thing. They all knew that someone was coming for them. They all knew that staying on the station with Brooks meant death. The Shadow War had started. Brooks tried to find out who was hunting him. He went through the station with his guards and his weapons. He demanded to see more security footage. He demanded to interview the station workers. He demanded to know everything about the traders who were on the station. No one could help him. No one had any information. The station manager, Grant, suddenly became very unhelpful. She stopped answering his calls. She told him that the investigation was complete and there was no evidence of any crime. She told him that his men had probably gotten sick. Brooks knew she was lying, but there was nothing he could do about it. Then the strange things started to happen. A man named Miller, who worked in the ship maintenance crew, suddenly got a promotion. The promotion came from corporate headquarters. It was a big promotion with more money. Left the station immediately. He did not even pack his personal items. He just left. Miller had been Brooks' security chief. 2 days later, another man named also got a promotion. A man named Tom Black got transferred to a better station. A man named James Cooper got an offer to work on a mining ship. All these men were part of Brooks' crew. All of them left. Brooks understood what was happening. They were not getting promotions. They were being removed from danger. Someone was moving them off the station to save their lives. Someone was removing them from Brooks' command. One night was working in the docking bay when he saw something strange. A woman was standing near Brooks' ship. It was Lyrie. She was just standing there, looking at the ship like she was thinking about something. She was very still. She was so still that she looked like a statue made of metal and silver eyes. Walked toward her slowly. He did not want to scare her. Lyrie saw him coming, but she did not move. "Hello," she said. "You are wondering why I am here." "I am wondering if Brooks is still in danger," said. "He is always in danger," Lyrie said. Her voice was very calm. "But I am not here to kill him today. I am here to watch him. I am here to let him understand what he has done." "What do you mean?" asked. Lyrie turned her silver eyes toward him. 3 of Brooks' men asked for transfers today," she said. 3 more will ask tomorrow. By the end of the week, all his remaining crew will have left the station. He will be completely alone. "Why are you letting them go?" asked. "Why are you not killing them?" "Because I am not a killer of unimportant men," Lyrie said. "I am a killer of threats. These men were only following orders from their captain. They were soldiers, not murderers. They do not deserve to die. They deserve to understand fear. They deserve to go home and remember what fear feels like." She looked back at the ship. "Brooks is the real threat," she said. "Brooks chose to hunt my people for money. Brooks chose to take children and put them in cages. Brooks made this choice with his own will, so Brooks will face what I decide for him." "What will you do?" asked. "That depends on him," Lyrie said. "If he tries to run, I will kill him. If he tries to fight, I will kill him. If he stays in his room and waits, I will let him wait. I will let him understand that he is helpless. I will let him understand that power is not what he thinks it is." "Is that cruelty?" asked. "No," Lyrie said. "Cruelty is taking a child and putting her in a cage. Cruelty is making her suffer. What I am doing to Brooks is justice. It is slow, and it is cold, and it is very sure." Did not know what to say. He understood that Lyrie was right. Brooks had done terrible things. Brooks had hurt and many others, but was still a human, and humans had a hard time with this kind of justice. "You are thinking that I am a monster," Lyrie said. She said it like a simple fact, like she was reading his mind. "No," said. "I am thinking that you are a mother protecting her child. I am thinking that Brooks made a bad choice, and now he is facing the results of that choice." Lyrie made a small sound. It might have been a laugh. "You are a good human," she said. "The best of your kind. You are the kind of human that gives me hope that your species might survive what is coming." "What is coming?" asked. "That is not for me to tell you yet," Lyrie said. She turned away from the ship and looked at directly. "But I wanted to say something to you. What you did for my daughter was more than just kindness. It was a choice. It was a choice to see someone suffering and decide that you would help. That kind of choice is rare. That kind of choice is the thing that separates good people from bad people." She walked past. She walked with that same silent movement that made no sound at all. "Come with me," she said. "I want you to see something." Followed her through the station. They went down to the lower docks. They went to the spot where had first seen. Behind the containers there was a small room. It was a place where workers sometimes took breaks. Was there? She was drawing pictures on a wall using chalk. The pictures showed three things. They showed a ship. They showed a child. They showed a woman with silver eyes. This is what remembers, Larry said. She remembers the ship that took her. She remembers being alone and scared. And she remembers the woman who came to save her. Looked at, she smiled. It was the first time had seen smile. It was like seeing the sun come out after a long night. And this, Larry said. She pointed to a fourth picture. It showed a man giving food to a small figure. This is what she remembers about you. Felt something change inside him. He understood that he was part of something bigger than himself. He was part of a story that would not end on this station. He was part of something that would be remembered. What happens now? Asked. Now we wait, Larry said. We wait for Brooks to understand his situation. We wait for him to make a choice. And we wait to see what kind of human he will be when he understands that he is completely powerless. Days passed. Brooks stayed in his locked room. His guards stayed with him. The rest of his crew left the station one by one. By the end of the week, Brooks was truly alone. He had no one but himself and the understanding that a warrior could kill him whenever she wanted. The station held its breath. It was waiting to see what would happen next. And went back to moving boxes of cargo. But he was no longer just a worker. He was the human who had changed the course of history with a single bowl of soup. And he was waiting to see what would come next. Victor Brooks sat in his locked room and waited to die. Days became a week. A week became 2 weeks. Nothing happened. No one came to kill him, but he could feel death coming. He could feel it like a cold shadow in the room with him. His guards had abandoned him too. They had made excuses and disappeared. Now Brooks was truly alone. He sat on his bed in the dark and he thought about all the things he had done. He thought about the children he had caught and put in cages. He thought about the families he had torn apart. He thought about the money he had made from other people's suffering. He thought about that little girl eating soup. He thought about the mother with silver eyes. Brooks tried to escape. He went to his ship and tried to make it work, but something was wrong with the engines. The station's maintenance crew said they could not fix it. It was not their job, they said. Brooks tried to bribe them. They took his money and did nothing. Then his ship got held for a safety inspection. It was a random inspection, they said, but Brooks knew it was not random. He knew that someone had put his ship on the inspection list. He knew that he was being trapped. The inspection would last 48 hours. Brooks had 48 hours to think about what he had done. On the first day of the inspection, came to see Brooks, was brought into the room where Brooks was being held. Brooks was chained to a chair. He looked like a broken animal. "Why are you here?" Brooks asked. His voice was rough from not speaking. "I came to tell you why this is happening," said. "I came to tell you about a girl who was dying in the lower docks." Told Brooks everything. He told him about the soup. He told him about Larry. He told him about the choice had made to help someone who was suffering. "I am not a special person," said. "I am just a cargo handler. I just saw a child who needed help and I helped her. That is all. But that simple choice created something very big." Brooks tried to speak, but no words came out. "They remember kindness," said. "And they remember cruelty. You chose cruelty. You chose to hunt people and put them in cages. You chose to hurt children. And now you are facing what your choices created." Stood up to leave. But before he left, he said one more thing. "Larry could have killed you," said. "She could have snapped your neck like she snapped the necks of your men. But she did not. She is giving you something that you did not give to the people you hunted." "What is that?" Brooks asked. His voice was very small. "A choice," said. "She is giving you a choice about who you want to be." Left the room. Brooks sat alone with his thoughts. The next day, Brooks asked to speak with the station manager. He wanted to know if he could leave the station. Grant told him that his ship would be free to fly after the inspection. She told him that he could leave if he wanted. "And if I do not leave?" Brooks asked. "Then you can stay," said. "But I advise you to leave. Some people on this station want to hurt you very badly." Brooks understood. He understood that Lyrie was still watching. He understood that if he stayed, he would die. He understood that his only choice was to leave and never come back. When the inspection was complete, Brooks' ship started working again. The maintenance crew had fixed it. Brooks prepared his vessel to leave. He had nothing but his life. All his money was gone. All his crew was gone. All his power was gone. He was just a man who had been shown the cost of his cruelty. As Brooks' ship left the station, watched it go. He was standing on the docking platform with Lyrie and beside him. "Will he come back?" asked. "No," Lyrie said. "He has learned his lesson. He will spend the rest of his life remembering the feeling of being helpless. That is a better punishment than death. Death is final. Fear lasts forever." Took's hand, she was stronger now. She was eating well and healing. Her eyes still had memory in them, but they also had hope. "Thank you," said. Her voice was clearer now. She was learning to speak human language. "You are welcome," said. He squeezed her small hand. That night was called to a meeting. The station had received a message from the Galactic Council. The Council had been watching what happened on station. They had been hearing stories about They had decided that there were a species that deserved protection. They were going to be recognized as a protected people. They would have the same rights as other species in the galaxy. They would have a seat on the Galactic Council. It was a big change. It was the kind of change that comes from a single person making a single choice to do what was right. Was given a reward. The Galactic Council gave him a medal for his role in creating peace between humans but did not think he deserved it. He had just given a child soup. A week later, Lyrie came to see one last time. She told him that she would be leaving the station. They would be going to live with other. They would be helping to build a new future for their people. "I want to give you something," Lyrie said. She held out a small vial. Inside was a liquid that glowed with a soft blue light. "This is a cure for the fever. It is a disease that kills many humans in this part of the galaxy. I want you to have this. I want you to give it to your people." Took the vial. "Thank you," he said. "No," Lyrie said. "Thank you. You gave my daughter back to me. You gave my people a reason to believe that some humans are good. You gave us hope." She placed her hand on shoulder. It was the same cold touch as before, but it was different now. It was not the touch of a warrior. It was the touch of someone grateful. "In our language," Lyrie said, "we have a name for humans like you. We call them. It means the human who remembered we were alive." She walked toward the docking bay with holding her hand, turned back and waved back. He watched them board their ship. He watched their ship leave the station and disappear into the darkness of space. Stood alone on the docking platform. He was holding the blue vial that would save many lives. He was holding the cure for a disease that had killed thousands. And he was thinking about a single bowl of soup. The cure was shared with human scientists. They studied it and learned from it. They created medicines that would help millions of people. They had given humans this gift because had given a hungry child a bowl of soup. Years passed. They built their own ships. They built their own cities. They became part of the galactic community. They were no longer hunted. They were no longer slaves. They were free. Continued to work on station for many more years. He never became famous. No one knew his name except but the new. They remembered. They told the story of the human cargo handler who gave soup to a starving child. And in their history books and their songs and their stories, they called him the human who remembered they were alive. That is the most important name anyone can have. Because kindness is not weak, kindness is not soft, kindness is the strongest thing in the universe. Kindness creates change. Kindness creates hope. Kindness creates new futures. Learned that lesson the day he gave a bowl of soup to a hungry child. And the whole galaxy learned it too. The end.